we certainly will be working with the owners of the distribution companies. Our government has met with both companies, and we have shared with them our views about what we think we should be doing together, how, for example, to make rights of way available for them to put in place their distribution assets without in any way altering the total urban plan and development plans for the state. Some of the things that we saw, for example, was that even the distribution poles that were being erected under the NIPP project were being erected without regard to local planning regulations. In some instances, I saw poles being erected in the middle of a road, and we had to have them move back to the setbacks where they should be. So, in a nutshell, we will be the local regulators, helping them to grow their business, put their business assets in place. And as you have heard from the Electricity Board, we are sharing data that it costs a lot of money to gather data about where their customers are, where the assets are, that we have gathered by energy audits. Today also, I believe on the Lagos Electricity Board website, there's an energy calculator there that I urge all residents to get on, load their information, because this information will be ultimately available to the power distribution companies to help them plan more accurately what kind of power you need and in what quantity and in what place. Of course, registering under the Lagos Residence Registration program is another way that we have sought to assist not just businesses generally, but also power sector operators, because all of that data is going to be available not only to government alone, but also to all service providers, to enable them know more precisely, because once you have the data really, you can do all sorts of things with it. You can sort, you can crunch, you can analyze, and this will be available to business once we have people populating them. I think now this is yes, the question about BRT buses is first to understand from Ben's report that expanding the BRT route is not a finished job, and the main route, which is the Ikorodu to Lagos Island, and the ones that have expanded to places like Iyanopaja and so on and so forth, show scope for expansion and improvement. By the time, perhaps when we finish Mile 12 into Ikorodu, there's a BRT corridor built into that road expansion. There's also a BRT corridor built into the Badagry Expressway corridor. So it's an ongoing process that as we expand road networks, we are integrating bus corridors into them. In terms of the quality of the buses and so on, that is really where private sector must raise its game. That is where there must be new rules of governance in terms of the way the companies are managed. I have met the buses, for the record, belongs to the unions, not to government. There are two businesses here, the blue buses and some of the red buses that we load to the unions to help start this business. It is the companies that must, as I have told them, institute new corporate governance rules. They must put back into the business what the business generates. The business has done well. It has paid back its loan, but have they reinvested back with the same commitment? Those are issues that I'm working with the transport unions to help them get business operators, help them create a more reliable company out of this and to continue to invest. Of course, the gap to catch is a huge gap, so you will see queues, because not only is our population already big? It was big from there, but it is increasing every day. We are feeling the impact of some of the disturbances across the country in the number of forced migrations that are coming in here and demanding service. That is the reality from what we measure on a day-to-day basis. On our side, we have an interest in the red bus company, the black bus company, but the scope also is to operate in less commercially profitable routes, so that we have left the more commercially viable routes to the unions to lead the business. The challenges here in the sense that the turnaround time for the buses, also the depreciation in their life expectancy, and the speed of replacement and refurbishment are still issues that we are contending with. It took us almost a year, for example, to find somebody who had the specialty for fleet management and operations. Some of the people we shortlisted just didn't meet the cuts that we wanted, and we had to reopen the advertisements. And I think we just got people in now who have run this kind of operation before, because there's special skills there in fleeting buses and making sure that they run 24/7, replacing parts. And also, we don't manufacture buses here. So when the buses break down, you have to go through the process of LPUs, even the parts are imported. So there's a lot of work to be done in making sure that we put those buses on the road. In most of the other countries where you see buses on the road 24/7 in good condition, is because most of those buses are either manufactured in those countries, and they don't sit for 6 months with all sorts of regulations clearing them from the ports. That's quite another one. There is a local foundry and metallurgy industry that is producing parts, so that parts can be put in very quickly and replaced very quickly. Buses will break down. Anything that is made by human beings will suffer wear and tear and depreciate. Now, what is the lead time between replacement and breakdown? Of course, there is also the issue. The operating costs are no longer the same. When this business started, it started at the time, I recall, that the Naira was trading to the dollar at $1 to 118 Naira. Now it is now trading at over 160 Naira. But consumers, of course, are going to be the first to put up a protest when these operators want to increase prices. So those are some of the realities that we all must deal with. Well, the transition plan really rests with negotiations. I'm sure that our government and our party will put forward the most reliable candidates at the time, and it is your duty, if you want this to continue, to go and cast your vote. And it is a vote that I think should be based on competence and what you want, rather than emotions, passions, ethnicity, and religion. The continuity of this has nothing to do with religion, and it will have nothing to do with ethnic issues. It will have everything to do with competence and putting a leader there whose eyes will remain on the ball.
Policies to reduce accidents on waterways.
Yeah, again, it's sad that we have accidents in any form that takes people's life. That really saddens me every time it happens. But as I've said on occasion, we can only plan for the worst and hope for the best. In trying to get the best, citizens have a responsibility for their own safety. We have set up a Lagos State Waterways Authority in order to be able to respond to safety issues on water, just like last month. But of course, you know the emerging issues about the national government saying that even on lagoons, it has a NIWA, and therefore they want to be there. But they want to be there in name. They have no patrol boats, they have no personnel, and so on and so forth. Now, is this about people, or is this about just tough squabbling? We have put in their regulations about the necessity to wear life vests anytime you are stepping on a boat. Now, it is for you as commuters on ferries and canoes and whatever to insist that the boat provider must provide you with the life jacket. That is the minimum that we have done. Very soon again, I was telling President Ehingbeti that people want everything to be free. So very soon we've procured some life vests again that we are going to give out free. But even where the life vests are there, are you ready to insist that every passenger on the ferry must use one? Are you ready to use one when it is presented to you? Or are you ready to take a chance with your own life? Because accidents will happen even amongst three people. Domestic accidents happen in our homes. And so in this very large family of over 20 million people, accidents will happen. We will do our best to prevent their occurrences, but a lot also lie in people not over-speeding, a lot lie in people complying with rules and regulations really at the end of the day. And when accidents happen, will you give us a chance to get a recovery team to you because you have worn a life vest and you can stay afloat? Or did you take the chance? Did you think that it was unlikely to happen? These are the issues that we will continue to really agitate about. Every time they tell us on an airplane, fasten your seatbelt, many of us have flown planes without incident. But it just might be definitive on the day we choose not to wear the seatbelt. Every time people say, wear your seatbelts when you are driving, it's for our own good. I know that my son, when he's not an adult, so he can drive, but I know that he learned the hard way when he was about 3. Taking him to school every morning, he always wanted to sit down in front with me. I always insisted that he should stay at the back. But there was a morning I was taking him to school, and suddenly I had to stop. But because I knew what was going to happen, it was my arm that saved me from flying out through the window. And I said, do you see now why you have to stay at the back and stop yourself? He said, yes, Daddy. And that was the end of the discussion. But he learned in a very hard way, but a safe way. So we shouldn't be the example as victims. We should be the examples as best practice, as evidence. You will never see me near a boat without a life vest on. It's not because I expect to die, but because I know that it's a sensible thing to do. And every member of our government knows that too. We will not see them near a boat without their life vest on. And if you follow those simple examples, I think we can all stay alive. Well, the oil company for Lagos, at the end of the day, government does not want to be a monopoly, a behemoth owning business, but we know that there are massive assets of oil and gas for this state, especially on our coastline, and this is the time to begin to plan the future, how we access those assets, how we use them, how we deploy them in a way also that they do not become environmental liabilities for us. So the Lagos Oil and Gas Company is going to be a very small shop, really very minimal staff, rooted largely on expertise and knowledge, formulating policies, entering into partnerships in a flexible way that enables us to optimize resources. But we're still looking at the type of personnel that we think will fit the bill. We know what we want, but we're shopping and snooping around the kind of people that can lead that size of problem. Well, Lekki Free Trade Zone, we flagged off, business has started in the zone, so there's really nothing to commission there. The latest entrant into the zone is the Dangote Group, and there are so many other medium, small, and large companies who are already operating in the zone. As you might have heard in the news, the Dangote Group is building a refinery there which should produce enough petroleum goods for the whole of the country and with enough to export. There is also an ethanol plant coming in there. So there's the Fourth Mainland Bridge. Let me quickly deal with the Blue Line and then I'll come back to the Fourth Mainland Bridge. The Blue Line is a project underway. It's a 27-kilometer rail line project. We've completed we're building it in 3 sections. Section 1, which is between National Theatre and Mile 2, has been completed substantially. All the 4 stations are completed, the tracks have been laid, and everything is in place. Section 2, which has started, is from National Theatre to Marina, which is the final terminus. Construction of that has commenced, and that's the hardest part over water. And that should be completed, I think, at the end of this year. Section 3, which is from Mile 2 to Okoko Maiko, is the last section. It is the easiest to build because it is actually at road level. But because it sits right in the middle of the highway, if you've been to that area recently, you know that the road work is commencing now. And until the right of way for the road work is fully established, you can't insert the rail there. So we expect that sometime next year, this project should be substantially completed. But again, the coaches and all of that, and I think that is what completion means to you. When will you see trains running on there? As soon as possible. There's a lot of work to still be done. Power has to come onto that grid in order to energize the trains. We still have to build the signaling and telecommunication systems. So, but in sections, just as we are building, you'll begin to see sectional testing and possibly sectional service starts as we go on. All over the world, this is the way these projects are built. They're built in sections and integrated until it is completed. As for the 4th Mainland Bridge, Ben has told you that nothing is off the table. But as I said, the question I have asked my team all the time, fine, it's good to build a 4th Mainland Bridge, but how many people have done the econometrics of a 4th Mainland Bridge? Because we had a 1st Mainland Bridge, more or less, which was Carter Bridge. We had a 2nd Mainland Bridge, which was a Eko Bridge, more or less, and we built a 3rd Mainland Bridge, and all of us just assumed that, yes, automatically there must be a 4th Mainland Bridge. Bankers will tell you, well, so how many people will it carry? What is the efficacy of this asset here now, and where should we put it? So some of the things we're looking at is, okay, what is the real issue here? Crossing from Lekki area to Ikorodu area. Can we do it by ferries? Can we do it by pontoons, and you can drive your vehicles onto pontoons and drive across to Ikorodu, which are some of the solutions we're already working on. Now, if we are also building this road, we have some numbers indicating that a road of about 23 kilometers and 4 kilometers of bridge will take us across, and it can be quote and unquote a 4th Mainland Bridge. Perhaps not as long as the 3rd Mainland Bridge, but really, what is the objective? To cross. We have indications that that kind of road will cost about 240 billion naira, and is constructible over 3 years. Now, how do we add 80 billion naira per year into our current budget? Because you are also telling us from some sections of this state that, well, the state is borrowing too much. That is the feedback coming from some sections. But that's where that kind of borrowing can go. But we're looking at our airport, we're looking at the Lekki Free Trade Zone, we're looking at the Dangote refinery, we're looking at the Lekki Seaport, and to say, look, in choosing this alignment now, we should not get stuck with the alignment that we were talking about, because we will never have the opportunity to do this twice. Can we reconfigure the alignment in a way that it becomes a catalyzer for all of those projects? So that has given us a wider perspective of the but surely the need to cross.
My brother governor, our class captain, Governor Babatunde Raji Fashola, the Deputy Governor, our guest, the former President of Georgia, which I now realize that we share a lot of things in common. When I listen to you about the Roja, we call it Roja here, that security operative state, you are welcome. Please forgive me, there are many of people that I should recognize here, but if you know the way it is, if we begin to do that, I will not even I will bore you. So let me just say all of you are well recognized. Well, for me, it is always a pleasure to be where any of our brother governors are doing events like this. And this is a very key event, really. Any events that will develop our economy, and particularly the theme of this summit, which is power. So we have to make ourselves available. Indeed, yesterday we were in the airport, and I said, what is happening? When is Lagos doing their summit? And of course we realized this today. And I said, Lagos, you know that they are not safe to be left alone. We just must be part of what they are doing. Because what we strive to do in Ogun State, because truly we encircle Lagos, and he knows that. The left, right, east, north, it is Ogun State, unless the lagoon itself. So because we encircle Lagos, it must be our responsibility to know what goes on in Lagos. And I said, we just must be there. Really, what do we seek to achieve? Our primary objective is to feed Lagos, and in feeding Lagos, you know, our agriculture will boom. And once that happens, our economy will begin to boom as well. We are not just only aspiring to feed Lagos, which we have started, but equally we want to house Lagos. We are doing that as we speak. And that is why, if you notice, you will realize that about 60%, and I'm able to say this, of course, is the middle and the lower cadre of the workers. They live in Ogun State. So we ask ourselves, let's attract those high top echelon staff, people that work in Lagos, to still come and be living in Ogun State. So we are pushing ahead to make sure that so many people now live with us in Ogun State. We are not stopping at that. We want to move Lagos. That's why the blue line is going on. We have commenced, we are starting our red line. And truly, that red line really, of course, takes its roots from Lagos. And you will agree with me, that's even more profitable than even the blue line that is doing now. So, because even moving about 1 million on a weekly basis or monthly basis, even to redeem, to mountain, to all of those places, you know we'll make our money, and they will make money too. And that is what we are trying to do. Of course, every day we do that. But let me say this. Aside from the regional cooperation that we have among ourselves, and I'm saying this with all sense of responsibility, you will discover that we are genuinely interested in working for the people, all of us. It is what I call a very keen competition, but that is not the one that will say, oh, because Lagos is doing this, I'm not happy, I must do it. No. Every one of us, you will see sincere, determined efforts to work for the people. Healthy rivalry. Indeed, he doesn't know this. I run around, even all the blue stations, the stations themselves. I will go there on a Sunday or wherever. They say, who is this? I don't even tell him to do that. I'll be spying. What are they doing here? How can we recreate back in Ogun State? So that we do. Those for me are the healthy competition. We ask ourselves, how is Lagos getting it right? We must get it right as well. So, even without telling him, I go around. When I saw the cable, I said, this cable bridge, we are building a better one. That's what we do. So we run ahead, we need to work hard to get to where they are. You see, when people talk, they said, will Lagos stop? Lagos is still moving. A lot of cash up we need to do. And when you look at this recently and newly rebased GDP, something you will notice there. Yes, we are the largest, we are the whatever now in the continent of Africa. We are 26th. You will discover that if you look at the components of that GDP, you will know that truly, it is not the real GDP that we have done well in. You will look at services alone, I think it's over 50. Manufacturing is under 10. What does that